gosh.
Ah, there we go. Ah, good, good, good.
Um, um, um,
Welcome, everyone. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Emily Grace. She is from Here to Serve. Welcome, Emily. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work that you do. And this is just going to be a real easy interview. There's no pressure. We're just me and you talking. We've been friends for a while, so it should be pretty good. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Holy
I can
crap.
hear you.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to turn my camera on.
You probably can't. I don't think you have enough followers to turn your camera on.
Oh, it won't let me.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense. I was very confused. Okay.
Speaking
Woo,
of,
thanks for
everybody
having
go
me.
follow Emily at Here to Serve. Please go follow. I'm so glad that you're
Yay.
here. Yay. So we're just
Yeah, thanks
gonna
for
start
having me.
with we're just gonna start with some easy questions, stuff that you answer every day. Could you start by telling us about Here to Serve, what its core mission is, and who it serves?
Absolutely. So, Here to Serve, our core mission has always been just meeting people where they're at and providing for, which is our mission statement is providing emergency and necessary supplies to people who are unsheltered, which is kind of vague, which is intentional. And so what we do is we work with folks who are unsheltered, living in tents, living in cars, and we do a community serve. So folks can come down, they can get a hot meal, non perishables, hygiene, first aid, menstrual products, clothing, socks, shoes, books. We also have street medics that'll come and, other folks who will come. We have sometimes like nurses or physician's assistants to help with wound care or basic care. We also do harm reduction, which is a big part of our life. And I know that's probably like, a word a lot of people are cutting out because all the other stuff, but we just love folks. And so that is a big pillar of what we do. So Narcan, all that kind of stuff. And then we also do programming. So we ran a laundry program for 2 years. We did a transitional housing program that saw 15 people housed. And now we're currently running a shower program. So we go every Friday. We bring like fresh fruits, things like that. And we go to another agency close by and utilize their showers. So yeah. Oh, and we have pet supplies. Sorry, we take care of the pets too. We love pets.
That's awesome. That's fantastic work. I think most of us with a heart could agree that not only is it fantastic work, but it's much needed and necessary. What does a typical day at the encampment look like for you and your team?
Oh, that's a great question. A typical day, I think it depends because each
Sure.
day is just full of opportunities for surprises. I think that's probably one of my favorite things is that you just never know like what's kind of gonna, be end up happening, even when you go in with a plan. Um, and I just say that so like I might take a couple of volunteers. We'll go down to the camp. We'll have waters, maybe some food, um, cat food. Usually, we'll try to feed the cats while we're down there, and it's just like hanging out, talking to folks, just kind of finding out what's going on, how folks are feeling. Um, I know, like previously in the past, which is why I kind of giggled when you asked. I know one time I went to camp and was like planning on sitting down and making like arts and crafts stuff that I had brought. But somehow I ended up with a couple residents in a U-Haul in some guy's backyard scrapping his whole metal shed. Um, so like you just really never know what you're going to end up doing. And my ADHD loves that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's really just hanging out with folks. I guess it does kind of remind me of like when you're a kid and you're hanging out with like the neighbors or like the kids down the street and you just don't know what you're going to get into. It does kind of feel like that, which is, I don't know, it just feels really fun to me to just be like hanging out and just enjoying, because we don't get enough joy, in my opinion.
And they're really great people. They really are.
Oh, they're fantastic. Absolutely.
And they take care of one another, which is so amazing. What are the most common and immediate needs you see when you arrive at the encampment usually?
Um, I think it depends, like if it's summer versus winter. So in winter, I will say, so there's kind of like twofold. So I would say like one of the first things, I mean, they kind of go in one with the other, but in the wintertime, it's very cold, right? So people are really struggling to stay warm. So propane and anything that provides heat is like an immediate need. So we use a lot of like the tank size, grill size tanks to refill them so that one, we're not creating more waste with the smaller 1 pound bottles that are not refillable. And two, it keeps you warmer for longer in terms of like money, cost, all that. So the heat really is one of the first things. And then I would say the second thing is even in, goes with it, but in summer, I would say trash pickup, like trash cans so that people can burn stuff more easily because in summer, when you have a lot of food or other perishable items, it attracts a lot of flies, which attracts, right, other things that you really don't want around. And just can cause a lot of issues. So I would say that and water, the opposite of fire, water. People are always
Mm-hmm.
struggling to stay hydrated. So it feels like in the summer we just can't get enough hydration, if I'm being honest.
Oh, okay. That makes sense to me. We all seem to struggle to stay hydrated for sure.
Absolutely. I'm
So,
always dehydrated.
yes. So, thinking like category specific, in terms of basic needs, which items are the most challenging to keep in stock?
That's a great question. I would say propane, like
Mm,
that.
I have some for you, by
And
the way.
oh, yay. I appreciate you so much. That we're coming into the colder months and it's cold now. So it's already
Right, yeah.
starting. But I would say to keep in stock, definitely propane, hand warmers, and then tents. Tents are always hard for us to keep in stock. People always need tents. Um, because elements will collapse your tents, meaning like if we get really heavy rain, that could potentially collapse your tent. If we have a lot of snow, so they're meant to not be lived in year round. These are not the
Right.
most durable things already. So I would say honestly,
And they get less and less durable every year.
absolutely, absolutely. So I would say definitely tents is very high up on the list, probably number one, honestly.
So we've got a question in the chat. It says, was the location mentioned? And I don't think we did. Do you want to tell them where you're at, Emily?
Oh, sorry, I hit a button. Sorry. Oh my
That's okay,
gosh.
no problem.
Oh, I don't. Okay.
Very
So we're sorry. We're on the far south side of Columbus.
good. Let's see. What's my next question here? Okay, so beyond food and water, what's a hygiene item that's most requested but often overlooked?
Hygiene item. Honestly, mouthwash. We
Very
don't
good.
get a lot of mouthwash.
Do you
So
have
I
an
would say
Amazon
probably.
wish list or something?
We do. We do. It's on our Instagram and our link tree. I can send that on here if you like.
Yeah, I'd love you. I'd love you to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I would so probably like a mouthwash, or toilet paper. Toilet
Oh
paper
yeah.
wipes. Those are, because it's not like you always have access to a bathroom. And if you're eating foods, here and there that maybe you haven't eaten before, your tummy might not, it might just struggle a little bit because it's new to it. So, toilet paper wipes are always really great.
You said you provide support for pets. Why is it so important to care for pets as part of your work?
Oh, one of my favorite questions. Because we view pets as part of the family unit. Um, so often people do not have emotional support that is adequate for them. And so when we look at pets, pets provide that emotional support. They also provide from a mental health standpoint. Petting a cat actually can reduce your blood pressure. So there's some medicinal there too as well. And so we just view it as so important. And oftentimes because people are forced, if they want housing, to give up their pets. And that's just not fair. That's not a situation often that house people find themselves in. So it feels really unfair to essentially be punishing somebody because they need housing. Um, so, I mean, yeah, we know that it's a unit. It's not just a pet. This is somebody's family.
And sometimes they're coming from being housed with a pet, and because they can't find another place to live, then, like you said, they're forced outside in order to keep their pet, even.
Absolutely. And our shelters are overflowing, our rescues are overflowing. One of the things that we often see is that we have pets that have been dumped in our area. And so you basically have unsheltered pets living with unsheltered people who are sharing what limited amounts of food and resources that they have with these pets in return for that emotional and mental support.
Speaking of pet food, Lorinda uh, gave me two giant dog food bags for you. So I'll be bringing
Oh,
those
yay.
down.
Oh, awesome. Yay.
This
Thank you.
is so we're going to talk about harm reduction. You'd mentioned earlier that it's kind of like a touchy subject, we all know. But it's crucial and it's often misunderstood. And we want to approach it with sensitivity and focus on their health. Um, for listeners who may not be familiar, how would you define harm reduction and why is it a core part of your work?
Okay, yeah. So honestly, harm reduction is a pretty broad definition. So it's really anything that's going to reduce harm. So housing is actually considered harm reduction because
Absolutely.
somebody, yeah, somebody who's outside is subject to great harm. So if you take that condition away to where they're inside in a new environment, that's reducing those harms. So it is a pretty broad definition, in my opinion. And that's exactly the reason why we believe in it, because regardless, right? If you look at the very stripped down basics of it, people who use drugs are still people. And because they're people, they deserve to have their basic needs met regardless. So having your needs met shouldn't require sobriety. Being housed to continue to stay alive shouldn't require sobriety. Everybody deserves that. And so that is why it's one of the reasons why it's such a core principle. Me personally, I'm from Southern West Virginia, where, I've seen drugs my entire life. I have seen, the communities that have been really harmed and impacted. And in all of that, there's the continued discrimination against folks. And so seeing what that leads to, I couldn't imagine having a more important pillar of this work being harm reduction.
I have to agree with you. Can you walk us through some of the specific harm reduction supplies that you provide, and if you feel it necessary, the purpose of each? I know it's a
Yeah.
large category.
Yeah, I mean we can talk about we can talk about some of the specifics. So, like I said, we do like wound care. So part of
Hmm.
that is just, talking to folks like, do you need bandages? Do you need gauze? Do you need, other things?
Just keeping
So
them
we do
clean.
correct, right. Just making sure that you have um good supplies, right, to provide for what you need. So we also provide Narcan. We do have OSU that comes out in their harm reduction. Shout out to Cicely who comes out and she provides Narcan, condoms, test strips. There's fentanyl test strips, medetomidine test strips. Um, so fentanyl test strips are just to basically test your drugs to see if what you're using is what you think it is that you're using. Um, Medetomidine is something that is oftentimes added to fentanyl, and people basically want to detect to see if it's present in what they're using, and if it is, make a decision on if they want to continue. Um, I mean, there's, just some other general supplies I think that a lot of folks have. And not to be like coy, but you know what I mean? Some of the things we're just, gonna put under that umbrella of harm reduction
Sure.
supplies.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, how does providing these items and sterile equipment open the door for other forms of support, like healthcare or addiction and treatment?
Yeah, so we never like bring up treatment or anything like that unless folks bring it up first. We
I love
really
that.
try to respect that. Yeah, really try to respect that autonomy. And when folks have that desire, we do our best to connect them. I think one of the fallacies that people at large, right, the general public has is that if you want to go to, say, a treatment facility, that you can just call and you get right in and you go. That's not actually how it works, right? You have to call, you have to
Right.
make sure they have a bed. If you don't have insurance, you got to figure out, how to navigate that. So it's not super easy. So what we do is we utilize our network to, really connect. And that means honestly sending a lot of text messages to people and being like, hey, this is the situation. How do we get in? Who do I need to call? That kind of thing. Um, so really just being there for folks to support them, to show that, like, regardless of whether you use drugs or not, we're going to be here and we're going to love on
Oh,
you and
yeah.
we're going to just continue to be community with you.
Yeah, let's not abandon one another. One of your camps just experienced a sweep. How are the folks there recovering from that trauma, really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's been rough. So folks have been out the last couple of weeks, myself included, and I think people are really feeling very helpless. There's not a lot of options that are present and available for them. And, it's a lot of what they can't do, right? You can't be here and you
Right.
can't be there, and we won't give you this and we won't do that. So, and I think one of the stark realities of after a camp sweep is that people are separated. And when we're talking about harm reduction, especially if I'm in an area where I know that if I'm going to be using and I need help, you can potentially come over and Narcan me. If I'm isolated, I can't Narcan myself.
Oh, yeah,
So,
that's really important.
right. So now that's why we say camp sweeps kill, because this is one of the ways in which that happens. So these conditions are created so that people have to disperse. It's breaking up of these communities. And these are oftentimes the consequences, the actions that happen. And so we also have people who go to other camps that they may, have connects with or used to know somebody, and that can oftentimes be volatile for them. There can be new people there. There can be a shift in the dynamics. They may seem welcome, but then that might change. And resource scarcity and scarcity mentality. So everybody's always competing for the same resources. So it just becomes a lot more complicated. So camp suites are just detrimental to everybody.
Yeah. And I know when I was down there with you, the anxiety that was in the air, knowing that it was coming, but not knowing when, having
Yep.
the folks who were making it happen show up randomly, caused a lot of tension. And I just don't find that to be very fair, or humane, really.
Oh, no. And I tried to get a hold of the um there, we talked about this, the
Mhm.
homeless advocacy liaison who,
The one I
works in the
asked him
city.
who paid him to how much they paid him to be so inhumane.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Has not come back to the camp. He has not returned any emails. He's not returned
Of
any
course
text
not.
messages. Residents even were trying to get a hold of him, which I think is really a slap in the face. So yeah, there's still definitely a lot of anxiety, especially because, you know, uh, elemental and environmental exposure on the body, right? It causes a lot of wear and tear. And so as people are forced to do labor in order to move, it causes further deterioration and decline. And so it just puts people in worse health by doing this. Can you still hear me? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay. I had asked what was the specific moment or story that made you say, I have to do something, and led to the creation of Here to Serve.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I started in 2022 out of the trunk of my car in September. So I was in school for social work for a number of years, and I loved a lot of the learning. I loved, doing, because I was also doing outreach at the time with Central Ohio Harm Reduction, which I highly, highly encourage folks to check out if you haven't. CORE on Facebook, COHR. And so, just seeing what was going on, knowing what the need was before going into 2020, seeing it really impact so many folks. I just kept thinking there's nobody coming to save us, right? There's no white knight riding in. Nobody knows what's going to happen. All I know is that my neighbors are suffering worse than I've ever seen them suffer. And I was actually, I will go into this. I was at Lowe's. This is kind of funny. So I was at Lowe's. I was buying flowers. I was just at home a bit. And so went, and while I was there, the cashier that I had, she started crying. She was really sweet. I knew it wasn't anything I had done, but I asked her, "Are you okay?" And she said, "No, I don't have any food in my house. I don't have any meat to feed my kids. The grocery stores are wiped out, And I knew somebody that was a hunter and had processed a bunch of venison and was looking to, get it to people who needed it. So I connected her. I went back. I brought her the meat, and I just thought, sometimes it's not necessarily money that you need, it's just that person to access. And so once I kind of connected that, I thought, all right, things are not getting better. So I need to do something. I can't, account for anybody else, but I need to do something. And I have extra stuff with me. I'm just going to load up my car. I'm going to go down here. And if folks can be outside for, this time, I can be outside for a little bit. And so I kind of just resolved it in my brain of like, this is my commitment to my neighbors.
I love that.
And we've been, yeah. So then we started posting on Facebook. We had a group chat for like a year before we finally were like, oh, I guess we should have a name. We've been doing this for a year. And we came up with the name in the parking lot while we were serving. We just kind of shouted it out and it stuck.
I love it. In the chat, anthropologist asked, where did the name come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the name of the park was called Heer Park and spelled just this way. And so when we were in the parking lot, trying to come up with a name, people thought they'd be cheeky and we all liked it. So that's where our name comes from, is the parking lot brainstorming session.
Oh, those are the best.
They really are.
Is there a misconception about the people that you serve that you wish everyone knew the truth instead?
Yeah, I mean, unsheltered people are still people, right? I would say that, everybody has their own story, their own experiences. Nobody is a monolith. And just regardless of what is going on in your life, you deserve to have housing and shelter and your basic needs met. So, there's just a lot of dehumanizing of people who are unsheltered. So, and it's acceptable, right? I think of like movies where, there's a character that's hired that's unsheltered and there's a heavy emphasis on making them appear a specific way due to, stigma and due to that kind of stereotyping. So I would just say, yeah, that they're human beings and they encompass all of the vast and wide human emotions that everybody else has, including you and me.
That's beautiful. So you're on the front lines. From your perspective, what's the biggest gap in the larger social safety net that, if filled, would make the most significant difference for the people you serve?
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Can you repeat it one more time?
Of course. Of course. From your perspective, what's the biggest gap in the larger social safety net that, if filled, would make the most significant difference for the people you serve?
Okay. So I would say, um, hmm. I mean, honestly, I would say just giving all this luxury housing to folks, right? Like
Oh yeah.
the housing, the housing that's sitting empty. Like let's put them in there. Let's do this, right? Let's get this going, because by 2026, Columbus will have more luxury housing than any other type of housing. And just for context for folks, between 2016 and 2020, the city of Columbus saw a 56% increase for luxury housing specifically being built, while we saw a 3% increase for, quote, affordable housing. And I say quote because I always think affordable for whom, right? Because
Right.
if you're unsheltered and you're living in a tent, you probably are not rolling in any money. So if you have no money, you can't make money off of you.
That's true. So this work is incredibly demanding emotionally and physically. How do you and your team practice community care and avoid burnout while dealing with such intense situations?
Great question. I would say, I mean, it is hard. It's really hard. I will say we don't I can't say that we avoid burnout. We all have experienced it in some form or another
Absolutely.
for, some period of time, despite our best efforts. And I would say honestly, like to stay in community, I think we all have struggled, and we're all working on having more in-person interactions when we can, really engaging with curiosity with each other has been a really big, um, important piece, I think, in making sure that we're all trying to, stay connected with one another and stay grounded. And I guess we smoke a lot. I'm gonna be honest. We all smoke a lot.
No
I
doubt.
hope.
No doubt. You're in good company.
Yeah.
So
So,
let's talk about some successes. Um, we've talked about, trying to survive, but what does a success or win look like in your work?
yeah, there's so many different types of wins and successes. So that's such a great question. So a success or a win would look like getting a warrant for some stupid stuff dropped, right? It might look like connecting you with a food pantry so that you can ride your bike there, right? And collect, food that you need to take back to your tent. I would say a big win would be getting somebody housed, like we did with our transitional housing program. Those are wins we're still trying to hold on to. Um, but yeah, I mean, even getting somebody like a bike or getting them a new tent, those are all still really big wins for us because we are immediately providing for people when the systems just completely lose people in these gaps.
And it happens too often, doesn't it?
Way too often. I mean, that's why the systems, they do work the way they're intended. When we talk about gaps, these are intentional, right? Because it
Right.
is meant to only serve specific people in certain specific, conditions and environments and, all these things. You can't, so like for housing, you can't get into permanent supportive housing, which is what a lot of unsheltered folks need because it's no rent, right? It allows you to actually really spend some time decompressing, right? Because it is traumatic being unsheltered. So if you have any type of like criminal stuff, even if all of it gets dropped, you can't get housed through federal programs while it's ongoing.
Wow. That just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
What what has been one of the most surprising or heartwarming responses you've received from either the encampment and community or the broader public?
I'm so glad I got to talk about this. So I would say recently, um, my friend Amanda, my dear friend Amanda, who when I met her 5 years ago was living at camp. She helped me co-organize for the transitional housing program. She was in the meetings, she was up with me doing a lot of the work. She did our housing program. She went to treatment. She's now stably housed.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and she asked me to be her maid of honor as she's getting married next year.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
yeah, that is, honestly, that has been just like such a bright, sparkly light, because, I've always believed in her in every iteration, right? I knew that Amanda's a human being and she deserves to have this care. And past that, she also reminds me a lot of my sister, and my sister's named Amanda. So, we
Aw.
all need, somebody rooting extra hard in our corner. And I felt like, I've been able to be that for Amanda and now to be part of her life as she transitions and, takes these, new journeys, it's just so fulfilling and just really makes me super, super happy.
That is amazing. I love to hear those real heartwarming stories like that. If you had
Yeah.
a if you had a magic wand and could change one local policy or law overnight to make life safer and more stable for the people you serve, what would it be and why?
Okay, this is going to be a funny one, but bear with me. It's going to sound funny, but bear with me. I would make adverse possession law 1 day. So what that means is adverse possession means if you occupy a place it's not occupied. Currently in Ohio, it's 21 years. So you occupy a place, you have to quote like fix it up or make it look better from the outside. It has to be upgrades, whatever. If you do a 1 day adverse possession, you could get theoretically, you could basically just take over housing, is what I'm trying to get at. This would allow people to just go into these luxury properties and be like, well, adverse possession, we're here. We go to court tomorrow. Boom, we get this. Right, quote, legally.
But it's
I say
21
quote,
years?
in Ohio, it's 21 years.
Good
In
Lord.
Colorado, it's 3 years. So each state is different in how long their adverse possession law is.
Wow.
So that's like a little in the weeds, but that's just one thing that would be like, whoosh, people actually occupying luxury housing, which would be nice. I mean, they already
Yeah.
get tax abatements, so why not put that, the folks in there that should be in there?
So it seems like a big part of the foundation of your work seems to be trust. How do you initially build that trust with someone who has every reason to be wary of outsiders? And what does it look like when you finally entered or earned it?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I would say building trust just takes time. You can't rush it. You can't fake it. You can't fudge it. It just takes time. And it's honestly like anybody, right? You meet somebody at school, you like their vibe, you might like the same thing. So you might try to have a conversation with them. Hey, I noticed such and such, right? Like that's cool. It's kind of like that. I think when you just show up and you talk to folks, it normalizes your presence. So I would say, it took a while for folks to trust me. There were some folks who thought I was a cop, which cracked me up to no end. But that just really highlights how much you have to be wary, when you have no safety.
Right.
So yeah, so I would just say like it takes time, interaction by interaction, and it's also remembering somebody's name. It's, maybe asking them, hey, what's your favorite drink? Or, dropping them a pack of cards or playing a card game with them when you see them. It doesn't have to be these big things. It can be small things that just build over time. And as for what that trust looks like, honestly, for me, like really feeling accepted was when people would go and what terms do I want to use here? I just say they'll hit a lick and they come back and they're like, hey, do you want some of this like stuff that they've gotten, right? I'm trying to be careful with my words here. Yeah. When you can kind of share in that community experience, right, of having this haul come in basically. And people wanting to share their food with me, saying like, hey, I just got such and such, you should try it. That's a big sign of trust when I'm actively inviting you to come to my tent, share food with me. It's the same as somebody inviting you into their home. It is a huge sign of trust.
That's amazing. So, Beyond the physical items that we've talked about, how do you actively work to preserve or restore a sense of dignity and personal choice for the people you serve, especially in an environment that can so easily strip it away?
Oh gosh, sorry. I heard a dog barking. Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure, sure. We had talked about physical items, but how do you actively work to preserve or restore a sense of dignity and personal choice for the people you serve, especially in an environment that can so easily strip it away?
Oh yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I you know me. And you know how I advocate for folks. And so I would say making like whenever I'm going to be in a space and we're talking about what is happening, I want the folks from camp to be there, right? The residents should be there. They should have their own voice, and just making sure that they're involved in every step of the way and just pointing it out when they're not, so that they can be they can be in a seat at the table, right? So that's one way that we really try to make sure that folks have that dignity and that respect, by making sure they're front and center in these decisions, making sure that they're there to hear that information, making sure that they're involved and invited. Um, and I think, when I see somebody, and I think for the majority of us, when we see residents, when we're out, when we see folks, we'll ask them, hey, do you want something to drink? Hey, can I get you something? I know that's a physical item, but just asking. They might already have something, right? And it's just asking because you want to make sure that you take care of them. So yeah, I think just really having those basic human conversations. And when folks are having bad days, or having, let me not say bad days, big feelings out loud, because they don't have a locked door, because they don't have a private space for that, providing that space, reminding them that you are entitled to these feelings, like you are allowed this space to process, to cope. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to keep you safe. I'm going to keep people from harming you, right? Because sometimes when people have those big feelings, people will call the police on them and say that they're having like a mental health breakdown, or they're in a crisis. And the reality is they just have big feelings they need to get out, and they don't have a safe place to do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't think about um, the the emotional space, like the need for that private emotional space to process whatever that looks like. But
Mm-hmm. Yep.
so, what has this work taught you about humanity, community, or yourself that you didn't know before you started? And has there been a lesson that changed your own perspective on life?
Oh my gosh, what a question. I think I've learned so many things. I think the main thing I have learned is that you can achieve anything when you are willing to grow together. And I think that I've also learned that, in that same vein, that we are our own limiting factors, and that mutual aid and engaging with your neighbors, there's no limit. The only limit is what you decide to put on it. Um, I think recognizing that has been really helpful, because we oftentimes can get in this mentality and this cyclical thinking of like, well, I can't do this, so I can't do that, and I can't, and it just excludes all the things that you can do. And so I would say that definitely has been a big lesson for me. And the reminder that the poorest of poor are the ones who are most often willing to help you when you need it, right? So
Yes.
I remember one time I was at camp and I was silly and I didn't bring my jacket, and it was so cold. And I was like shivering, but I was being big about it, because I'm like, well, I know I can go home and like I'll be fine. And But people were tired of watching me shiver. And so Michelle came out of her tent and just put a jacket on me and was like, here you go, honey. Like, we can see you're cold. It's okay. Um, so just those reminders of the people are still there for you. And when you have to make do with so little, and people are so happy to still give it to you, it just really recenters how much of our humanity, we really have othered with folks who are unsheltered.
Can you talk about the unique bond that you see within the communities that you serve?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, folks have been, together through all of it, right? Like I think of like people who are still friends with their middle school, friends or high school friends. You go through these experiences and it bonds you. And so, um, we have a lot of folks who are family who, live close together, either in tents together, or close by, adjacent camps. And then, you have folks who were in the foster care system and who came out together, right? Who lost their place in the system, not lost their, they were in the system and now they were out of it. And so they didn't have anywhere to go. So you have folks that have just known each other for so long, that, you've really been through it. And so the bonds are so strong with each other, and the way that they advocate for each other and look out for each other and provide for each other. It is so special to see, and just such a reminder of how much family is who shows up for you.
I just got goosebumps.
No.
Despite the immense challenges and the roadblocks and the pressure from various angles, what gives you the most hope and keeps you coming back every day?
The fact that I've done so much that so many people told me I couldn't do or that wasn't possible, that not just me, but other folks who are believing in this same thing. We have been told, so much of what we can't do, and yet we've done it. We've done it and then some. So I think what keeps me coming back, and probably quite a few other people, is the sky is the limit, and we're just going to keep going and keep going and keep going, because I'm never going to be stopped by a no, right? For every person that's going to tell you no, there's somebody else that's going to tell you yes. So to just keep coming back and hammering and belaboring the point, it gets me fired up. And because yeah, I just think so often the system is so gaslighting to just keep fighting, and having some wins shows that it's so possible, and it's why they fight so hard against us, which makes me just want to double down more.
That's amazing. So, if you could give one piece of advice to someone who wants to get started in this work, what would you give it?
Oh my gosh, I would say start by connecting with as many people as you can. Find the organizers, find the people that are already doing this work, and figure out how you can help, how you can get involved, what bite-sized pieces you can take on. Because, for us, Here to Serve did not become what it is overnight. It took us 5 years to get to where we are. So bite-sized pieces are really important. And I would remind folks that it's a marathon. It is not a sprint. So you really do have to pace yourself. You really have to think also long term and not get swept up in this emergency mentality of right now, because that's the quickest way to burn yourself out without having much, rebound time.
In the chat, anthropologist is asking, how old are the encampments?
So it depends, but the encampments where we're at on the far south side have been there over 20 years in some fashion or another. It's a hodgepodge of landowners back there, and so people have been evicted from one land parcel, they move to another land parcel, and so forth and so forth. There has been, honestly, 2020 did even a documentary or whatever they do about the folks living behind Walmart right there, which is, one iteration of the camps from that time period. And some of the folks in our camp actually lived in the camp when it was there, and then also when it was in Heer Park, and then, other various places nearby.
So how can we help you?
Great question. I would say if folks are able to donate, great. If you're able to share our information, help us network. That's really, really important. We are really always wanting to network and connect because the reality is there's more than enough, right? Scarcity mentality is manufactured. It's not actually, real. That's a condition that's created, and we know that it's manufactured. So, I would say, yeah, just helping us network, get connected to other folks so that we can all share resources. We can all, brainstorm and be actively working on programs or, other things together that actually impact the community. And then I would just say educating other folks about what's happening, not just in Columbus, but in Ohio, in terms of folks who are unsheltered. And if they're, in Columbus, just encouraging them to come and volunteer with us, check us out. We always want folks to feel welcome. So even if folks just want to do kind of like a flyby, see how they feel about us, more than welcome. Highly encourage it. Would love to see people.
I love that. And a lot of this folks can take with them in their state, in their town, or in their region, and put that to use too. So they don't just think Emily and that's the end of it. There are encampments all over the country that need this kind of work and community building, because that's really what
Absolutely.
this is. This is community building at its finest. And what I've realized is, um, not only are the folks at the encampment incredibly generous and kind, but they literally would like go to blows over each other depending on what the threat is. Like they will not.
Oh,
They stick
absolutely.
up for one another, and I love that.
Absolutely. And I mean, absolutely. And I think one of my favorite things is like how protective they are of me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just be, so it's, it feels, family. It feels, these are my friends, this is my family. I'm with them on Christmas, holidays, my birthday. And it's so wonderful how much love there is between these folks in this community, and how willing they are to give it to others. They are so inviting and welcoming when people show up genuinely and engage with them. I mean, they also love their community.
Mm-hmm. How can we find you on social media?
Okay, so we're on Facebook. We're with the Here to Serve. It's this name, Heer. That's how the park was spelled, just for folks who want to know. It was not a mistake, I promise. Um, but so we're on Facebook as Here to Serve. We're on Instagram as Here to Serve. And we are also here on TikTok on Here to Serve. And I apologize that I'm sure some people have noticed I'm not super well versed with TikTok, but I'm trying. I will get there. So we will be posting more on here as well to try to stay up to date. So yeah, folks can find us. Oh, and we are also on Blue Sky. So Blue Sky, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram under this name.
Very good. Is there anything else that you would like us to know before we close for the night?
Um, uh, solidarity, not charity. Nothing
Oh, yeah.
about us without us.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I appreciate you being
Yeah.
here with us, Emily. And I look forward to more collaboration between you, me, Lorinda, Skylark. I really think that this is a good, I don't know what you call it, a good unity, especially as we get into, the SNAP benefits going away and some other vital
Mhm.
services go away. We're going to have to rely on each other across the state to keep our folks alive.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're coalition building. We are in coalition community with each other. And so
Oh, yeah.
that is really what we're doing. And I think as we go into this, we are all going to have to be, as we know, way more intentional. And so that this is part of this. And again, the sky's the limit. We can take care of each other. We know how to do this.
We do. Yeah.
We do.
But thank you so much for the work you do.
Of course.
And I want to help support you however I can. So please keep reaching out and let's continue to build.
Absolutely. Thank you so, so, so much for having me. And thank you, everybody who has asked questions and commented. Like, you all are amazing. For my first time on a TikTok Live, like, this has been top notch.
Thank you, thank you. I have great people in my corner. I'm very lucky. So I couldn't do it without all of them. They're amazing. You're amazing, and I can't wait to see you.
No.
I'm hoping to get down this weekend. So I'll keep you posted.
Okay, I can't wait. I cannot wait. Oh my gosh.
Me either. All right. You take care and have a good night. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for the likes and the shares and everything.
Thanks so much.
And hopefully we'll have another guest here real soon. I don't have one scheduled yet, but I'll keep you posted.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm gonna try to
Thank
figure out
you.
how to get out of
I
this
got you.
now. Okay.
I got you.
Okay.